Hello everyone, it's me Julie and I'm here with another tutorial, and today I'm going to show you how to close your tubes. Okay, now you can see here that I've got a tube. Okay, it's folded in half, it's not one, it's one tube, there you go, see. So what we're going to do with our tube today, this is a tube that I've knitted on a 22 pin machine, but it doesn't matter how big your machine, you're finishing your tubes still is the same. Okay, so what you need to do this is your tube, you need a crochet hook and possibly some scissors. Okay, and what we're going to first do is, as you can see, we've got this tube has been knitted and we've got our waste yarn here. This is our project yarn, this is our waste yarn. So what we're going to do to close the tube, we're going to close off across here and remove the waste yarn. Okay, so first of all what you're going to do is you're going to, we'll just do this one end. Okay, you're just going to fold back your what's this called? Yarn, waste yarn. Honestly, my brain's having this, it's all gone all fuzzy in the heat. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We fold that back and then we can see whereabouts our knot is. Now I want this knot to be the end of the tube, the closure, the end of the closure. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to adjust the tube so that we've got our loose end at one end. Okay, that is tied together, but once we've closed the tube, we'll untie that. Okay, now this is going to be the end, so we're going to turn it around so we start at the other end. Okay, we're going to start this end. Now to close your tube, you need your crochet hook. It doesn't matter what size as long as it's not mega big. I mean, I think this one's about a 4 or 5 millimeter, so that's usually sufficient. So what we're going to do is, because you can see that, now you can see here that we've got our waste yarn there and the project yarn is here. So what we're going to do, we're going to close up this here, the project yarn. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you can see these little cream coloured stitches here all the way around. Those are the stitches that we're going to crochet together to close the tube. Okay, and that is why we have a different colour waste yarn, so we can see them, so it's easier for us to close them off. Now what you do, I mean, you don't need to have any crochet skills for this. You're just basically pulling one stitch over the other, and I'll show you how to do that now. And it shouldn't take long because it's only 22. So so we want to keep the yarn end hit this end, so we're going to start at the other end and work our way down, and then we fasten off with the yarn end there. So what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start with this loop here, so I'm going to put my hook underneath that loop there. Okay, and then I'm just going to work backwards and forwards. I'm going to go into this loop here, okay, which you can see between the two grey stitches there, and pull it through like that. Then we go to this side and we hook that and pull it through the loop. Okay, and then we go back over this side and do the same, and then we back to this side and we do the same. Okay, so you just go along, you just keep going backwards and forwards each side. Okay, you see, you don't necessarily have to have any crochet skills, it's just a slip stitch, and you're sort of slip stitching one stitch over the other, the cream colour stitches or whatever colour you've used. Okay, so you go all the way along, and as you can see, that is closing now. You see, that's all closed up there, and we just carry on to the end. Try not to pull the stitches too tight, because if you do, you might have trouble getting your hook inside these stitches here. Like that. I'm having a trouble here. Oh, come on, there we go. Oh, goodness me. There we go. We're almost there. Let's get a bit more tricky towards the end. Okay, now you're coming up to your end of your, so this one here, okay, and then there should be the last one. Okay, so when you get to the last one, this, there, okay, there it is, there, that's the last one. Okay, then what you do is you untie this here. This is why we don't tie the waist yarn off tightly, because we need to untie it. Okay, and then we're just going to fasten off with this piece of yarn here. We're going to fasten off, so we take that hook underneath there and pull it through, and all the way through, and that is your tube closed. Okay, now what we do is we remove the waist yarn. So let's just find the end of the waist yarn. And there we go. And we just pull it off. It should easily unravel. There we go. Careful when you get to the last bit there, that should all unravel. There we go. So now we've removed our waist yarn, and there is your finished tube. What you would do with this is you get yourself a little needle, which is here in my little trusty box of tricks somewhere. There's a few in here, there we go. So we'll thread the needle. Ooh, the fan's blowing all my yarn around, there we go. And then we'll just tuck that in there, inside the tube, just to hide the yarn, so it's all nice. And then we snip it off. Okay, and there we go. That's one end of our tube. Now, to make sure we get the other end of the tube exactly the same, because if you just do if you do the same as what you've done at this end, it may not match, it might twist. So what I suggest you do is you flatten your tube as much as you can. Okay, just flatten it out. There we go. And just flattening it out isn't going to make it equal. I'll show you how to do that shortly, but flatten out your tube. There we go. So we flattened out our tube, so we're just going to fold that back there like that. Now, as you can see, this end, as I've flattened out that tube, this end is very similar to what we did at the other end, but because it's slightly off centre, because we need it to be here, we're just going to take our work and we're going to look here at this row here, this row of stitches here, and what we're going to do is we're going to, because this is your edge, right, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, as you can see what I'm doing, I don't know what this is called, but but what I'm doing is I'm keeping my eye along the same row of stitches all the way down the tube, okay, and making sure that it's on the edge, so when you hold it, it's like that, and you can see that it's a straight edge. So when we get to the bottom, you see it, if it's not on the top here, just twist it until it is. Okay, I'm just pulling my fingers down this row here so that I can actually see the row of stitches. And we make sure that we keep that row of stitches to the top, okay? Now we're nearly down now. As you can see to the bottom, it's starting to twist, so as we're going, you can see that's going to go along here, so we're going to need to twist it back up. Okay. So then when you get down to your other end, where your waste yarn is, okay, this is where you're going to start, because you've gone that whole way on the same row. This here is where you're going to start to close your tube. Okay, now it may be that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the hook through there like that, so that I know that's where I've got to start, and I'm just going to turn that in. Now it may be that this is not in the same place as it is at the other end. That's not a problem, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, because what may have happened when you're doing your waste yarn, you may have gone over 2 or 3 more stitches, and that's why it's not the same as it is the other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, okay, I'm going to untie that there so that they're not tied. So we're going to do exactly the same as what we did the other end. Sometimes you may get this the same end, the same at the other end. So we just do exactly the same as we did at the other end, hooking the stitches through and closing up the tube. Oops. Goodness me. When you get to here, we're going to have to carry this yarn up to the end so that we can fasten it off. Okay. I'm just going to show you how to do that. You may not have to do it. It depends on how it's twisting. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this side and then take this side, okay, because this is the stitch we need to use. Okay, then I'm just going to go back to this side and I'm just going to keep this over there here like that as we take this next stitch here. Okay, we take that next stitch in there and we go across to there. So if you poke it down in there, then as we're closing the tube, the yarn will stay inside the tube and you'll have an end to fasten off. Okay? Oops, here we go. Like I said, it does get a bit fiddly towards the end. Yeah, it's this one in here. Now you could easily miss that one, so be careful. It's that one there we need to go into. As I've pulled it too tight when I've done the previous stitch. And we come back for this one. Oops. You can see what I mean by when you pull the stitch too tight, you can't actually see where you've got to pick up the stitch, but it's there. It's right there. So you have to be really careful when you're poking. You can probably see that little blue piece there. Well, that is where the stitch is. It's, there we go. So we pull that through. And then we take it through to the other side. That's where it starts to get a bit fiddly. And we've got there we go. And that is our last stitch. So now we've taken this along from that side there, we've brought that along, so we can fasten that off now, like that, okay? And that's our end all sealed up. Now to take this end off is a bit different because if you pull this, it will cinch, as you can see, because the cast on edge, this is the cast on edge, is different to the cast off edge. The cast off edge will just unravel, the cast on edge won't. So what you have to do is you have to pull your yarn through the top row of your knitting there. So if you actually pull that and you can see it cinching and you can see the wool moving, you need to pull it back, okay? So you just pull it back out all the way around, and then it will be easy just to unravel it because you're undoing that top row there to loosen your stitches. Now you can see all the stitches are now loose, you see, and we can unravel it. There we go. We can unravel that. There we go. And there you've got your end, and you can just do the same here as we did at the other end by hiding this little piece of end in the yarn, in the work. Okay, oops. There we go. Snip that off, and that is your finished tube with both ends closed. Okay, and if you actually fold it, you will see that you've got it equal. Okay, that's folded in half, and you will see you've got it equal. If you fold it in half and it's twisted like this, of some sort, like that, then that's not right, and you'd need to undo it and start again. So it's always best to run your finger down this row just to make sure that you have got it even. Okay, and then there we go. That's your one of your, we've got our nice edges there. Okay, and when this is all done, when you've done this with all your edges that you need to do, you've closed your edges up, then you can follow my tutorial for mattress stitching, and where you stitch them together to make up your blanket. Any questions? Just shout, no problem. As always, I'm here to help. So thank you for watching my little video, and I'll see you next time on my next one. Bye for now. Bye.